Rain hit the polished marble steps like silver needles as people rushed under umbrellas toward the grand ballroom of the Kingston estate. Inside, golden chandeliers shimmered over a sea of evening gowns, champagne flutes, and forced smiles. But near the entrance, standing awkwardly with a damp blazer and a wrinkled invitation, was a man who didn't belong. His name was Gavin Holt, a 34-year-old single father, janitor by day and part-time mechanic by night. The lights of wealth and power reflected on his tired eyes as if mocking the grease stains that never fully left his hands. He wasn't supposed to be here. But fate had a strange sense of humor that night. If you believe in second chances, kindness, and the power of fate, then take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Because this story is proof that even the most unexpected moments can rewrite a person's life forever. Gavin hadn't planned to attend the charity gala. He had been hired that morning by the event organizers to fix a generator that had broken down behind the ballroom. His daughter, Maya, waited outside in his old pickup truck, drawing on her sketch pad while humming softly. But before he could leave, a frantic woman in a silver gown had mistaken him for one of the servers and shoved a suit into his hands. "Please, just deliver this to the guest in the green dress," she had said. When Gavin hesitated, she added desperately, "You'll be helping someone who really needs it." That was how Gavin, still smelling faintly of oil and rain, found himself wandering through the glittering crowd with a suit bag, praying no one noticed how out of place he looked. Then he saw her. Standing near the grand staircase was Elara Kingston, the billionaire heiress known for her stunning beauty, unshakable poise, and the empire her late father built. But tonight, her expression was anything but confident. Her trembling hand clutched a glass of champagne as two journalists whispered nearby, their cameras already rising. Then her eyes landed on him. Their gazes locked for only a second, but something desperate flashed in hers. She crossed the marble floor toward him, her heels echoing like heartbeats. "You," she whispered urgently, stopping inches away. "Pretend you're my husband tonight." Before Gavin could speak, she looped her arm around his and faced the crowd with a smile so dazzling it nearly blinded him. Reporters lowered their cameras in shock. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Elara Kingston married. For the next few minutes, everything felt surreal. Elara's grip on his arm was tight but trembling. She guided him gracefully through introductions, laughter, and small talk, while Gavin tried to keep up with words that felt like walking on ice. Her perfume smelled faintly of jasmine and sadness, and though she looked every inch the powerful woman the tabloids adored, Gavin could tell she was crumbling inside. Only later, when they escaped to the quiet balcony overlooking the estate gardens, did she finally breathe. The night air softened her voice as she confessed the truth. "My father's company is under attack. A rival board member wants to take it from me. The press is watching for any sign of weakness, and they found out I was supposed to attend tonight's event alone." She paused, looking away. "They said no one trusts a woman to lead without a strong man beside her. So I panicked." Gavin exhaled slowly, unsure what to say. "And you chose me." Elara smiled faintly, eyes glistening. "You looked honest." He laughed under his breath. "That's one word for it. Another might be clueless." But she smiled again. This time it reached her eyes. Over the next few hours, Gavin became the most talked about man in the ballroom. The mysterious husband of Elara Kingston. Some whispered that he was a secret bodyguard. Others guessed he was a foreign investor. But Gavin said little. He watched her navigate sharp smiles and polite betrayals with the calm of someone used to surviving storms. When the music began, she leaned close and whispered, "Just follow my lead." Her hand slipped into his, and before he could protest, they were dancing under 1,000 lights. Gavin hadn't danced since his wedding day, a day that had ended in heartbreak years ago when his wife left him and Maya for someone wealthier. But somehow, moving with Elara felt natural. Every step felt like forgiveness. He noticed how her laugh changed when she was genuinely happy, lighter, unguarded, like a girl who used to dream before the world demanded perfection. And for the first time in years, Gavin felt seen, not as a poor single dad, not as a man people pitied, but as someone who mattered. But happiness, like champagne bubbles, fades fast. Halfway through the night, a tall man in a navy suit approached them, Victor Alden, Elara's board rival. His smirk was polished, his words dripping with poison. "Elara," he said smoothly, "I didn't realize congratulations were in order. Your husband is quite unconventional. His eyes raked over Gavin's simple shoes and calloused hands. Tell me, sir, how did you two meet? Before Gavin could answer, Alara's voice turned icy. Love doesn't need a R.A. Victor. But Victor wasn't done. Love, he laughed softly. Strange, considering the tabloids never mentioned a wedding. Shall I have my assistant check the records? The tension was sharp enough to cut. Gavin's mind raced. One wrong word and her reputation could shatter. So he did something he hadn't done in years. He spoke from his heart. You won't find it in the records, he said quietly, his hand steady around hers. Because love doesn't always wait for permission. Sometimes it finds you when you least deserve it. The room fell silent. Cameras clicked. Victor's smirk vanished. And Alara looked at Gavin like she was seeing him for the first time. Later that night, after the guests had left and the ballroom was nearly empty, Alara found Gavin sitting alone on the terrace steps, staring at the moonlit gardens. You didn't have to protect me like that, she said softly. I wasn't protecting you, Gavin replied. I was telling the truth. She sat beside him, her gown pooling like silver water around her. Truth, he nodded. Sometimes people like me, we look at people like you and think we're from different worlds. But tonight, I saw something else. You're just as scared of losing everything as I am. Maybe the only difference is, you hide it better. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, quietly, she said, would you believe me if I said tonight is the first time I've felt safe in years? Gavin looked at her and smiled. Then maybe you chose the right stranger after all. The following morning, the world woke up to headlines. Billionaire heiress Alara Kingston's secret husband revealed. Photos of them dancing, laughing, holding hands. The story spread like wildfire. But what shocked everyone most wasn't the scandal. It was what happened next. Instead of denying the rumors, Alara called a press conference. Cameras flashed as she stood at the podium with Gavin beside her. Yes, she said clearly, this man came into my life unexpectedly. And though last night began as a misunderstanding, he reminded me what real strength looks like. Not power, not money, but kindness. Reporters shouted questions. Was it true? Was this a stunt? Gavin said nothing. He simply took her hand again, and that gesture silenced the room more than words ever could. In the weeks that followed, Alara faced every storm the media threw at her. But Gavin stayed. Not as her pretend husband anymore, but as her friend. He helped her reconnect with people she'd shut out. He fixed her car when it broke down. He even brought Maya to the estate sometimes, and soon the little girl began drawing pictures of Miss Alara's garden and the lady with the sparkly shoes. Alara's walls began to crumble. She would join Gavin and Maya for breakfast, laughing at burnt pancakes and stories about school. Slowly, her mansion stopped feeling like a museum and started feeling like a home. But the biggest change came one afternoon when Alara visited Gavin's tiny workshop on the edge of town. She arrived in jeans and a simple white blouse, no entourage. Maya was painting a cardboard castle while Gavin worked under a car. When he noticed Alara standing there, smiling shyly, he almost dropped his wrench. You're really here? He said, stunned. She nodded. I told you I was tired of pretending. She walked closer, kneeling beside Maya. Do you mind if I help with the castle? Maya's grin was answer enough. And in that moment, surrounded by oil cans and laughter, Alara Kingston, billionaire, high-res leader, looked perfectly, wonderfully ordinary. 2 months later, at a charity event held in the same ballroom where it all began, Alara announced a new foundation dedicated to helping single parents start businesses and rebuild their lives. Because sometimes, she said, looking at Gavin in the crowd, the people who have the least to give end up giving the most. When the applause faded, Gavin found her outside under the same chandelier glow. You didn't have to mention me, he said softly. She smiled. You didn't have to pretend to be my husband, either, but you did. For a long time they just looked at each other, the air between them full of things neither needed to say. Then Alara reached up, brushing a smudge of grease from his cheek. So, Gavin Holt, she whispered, what if we stopped pretending? This time he didn't hesitate. He kissed her, slowly, sincerely, like a man who finally found home again. And somewhere nearby little Maya clapped her hands and shouted, Does that mean Miss Alara's my mom now? The laughter that followed wasn't rehearsed or forced or polite. It was real. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every act of kindness begins with a single choice: to see the good in someone, even when the world doesn't. And before you scroll away, comment below, do you believe love can start from a lie that turns into something real? Because sometimes, pretending for a night can change a lifetime.